to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Oilers Live. Back to our usual time slot. Well, actually, our old time slot. Now it's our usual time slot now is Wednesdays at 9 p.m. But game tomorrow night, so we've been bumped up earlier for your listening pleasure. I'd say your viewing pleasure, but I can see the same thing you guys are seeing. I've got my my host, co-host Dash in the park with me, and our regular guest and senior writer for Heavy Hockey, Mr. Ryan Lotsberg. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Good. Happy to be here as always.
Good.
Yep, always good. Always good.
Yeah, good. Well, welcome. I mean, this is look, it's not quite as bad as last season, but we got lots of Oilers hockey to talk about. Oilers don't have maybe the record we'd hope they'd have by this point in the season, but that's what happens when you start out at 0-3 to start the season. Oilers 6-3-1 in their last 10. Depending on who you talk to, that's good, and some people think it's awful. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say today, and how we're looking at these Oilers. I mean, I think there's some positives, there's some negatives. We can talk special teams. That could probably be a whole episode, and it wouldn't be a positive one, but. Oilers on the off day today. They're back at it tomorrow night, so that's why we're being bumped. In the meantime, in hockey right now, I believe he's all right, but I didn't watch it. But I heard Dylan Holloway got hurt pretty bad tonight. What did he get? A puck in the throat? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was just a play. He was trying to block a point shot, and puck went up off his stick and into his chest, like collarbone area, and he finished the shift. Like he skated around for another 20 seconds or so, and then things got bad on the bench apparently. But all the reports indicate he's okay, thankfully. So that's positive news at least.
No deflection or anything. Paul just went for a wrister and from the point and just straight up 10 feet right. They're 10 feet away and 6 feet up straight to his collarbone.
His parents were at the game, I heard too. Which
muscle memory kicks in, and you finish your shift. And he was trying to get the puck out of the zone, and your adrenaline's pumping. And I think by the time he got to the bench and the adrenaline wore off, you realized how much it hurt. And just because Sarabelli said that his pathways are open now, that doesn't mean they were on the bench. And it looked to me like he was really. Like it reeked with my empathy, to be honest. I needed a few minutes after I watched it. It's never easy as a hockey fan or an ex-hockey player or a current beer leaguer to watch somebody get stretchered off the ice. Honestly, it's never a good feeling, no matter what. So, glad to hear he's okay. Glad to hear his parents were there for him. But yeah, it was a little tough to watch.
Yeah. It's
not necessarily the act, but the result.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I doubt I will. I don't need to. It's good enough to hear about it, and I'm glad to hear he's seemingly doing all right. And we'll hope that doesn't change throughout the night. But they got him. St. Louis Blues, of course, picked up Holloway and Broberg in the offseason. As part of the offer sheet, both of which are now injured, I guess. So Broberg, we were talking about just before we got on the air, is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
It looked innocent enough play, just unfortunate one where the guy landed on his knee in the wrong spot, and out he goes. So unfortunate.
Don't blow my segment later, Michael.
Yeah, no, I won't. We won't get too far into it, but look, it's the business of hockey. You talk about the players all you want, but you don't want to see them. You don't truly want. Well, sane people don't truly want to see them injured or anything. You want to. I always think it's it's tough to have anybody injured. I'd prefer to watch best on best every night, even if it means that there's a chance my team could lose because Kucherov's in the lineup or something like that. Like I just want to see the best players play the game. That's the game of hockey, and so you don't want to see them injured. And that's it's unfortunate either way. All right, so let's talk some Oilers hockey. That's why we're here. If you are listening in on Twitter, and we've got quite a few folks listening in on Twitter tonight. If you're on YouTube or you're on Twitch or Facebook, you can join in on the chat. We'll gladly chat with you. Oilers are 6-3-1 in their last 10. No thanks to the power play. No thanks to the PK.
No thanks to the defense. No thanks to the goaltending. No thanks to the scoring. No thanks to the refs.
Well, yeah,
let's get
it all out there. Yeah, I mean, it's now tell me, are you guys where do you sit? Because you talk to it depends on who you talk to. Even in our group chat, you'd think the sky was falling. Are you guys 6-6-1 guys, or are you 6-3-1 in the last 10 guys? I.e., glass half full or half empty when it comes to the Oilers? Ryan Lotsberg, you're first. Or Dash wants to go first.
No. Go ahead.
Lotsy, go.
I would kind of mishmash all those answers. Like I'm a 6-6-1 guy. Like we don't have our A game. We haven't had our A game all year, aside from a period or two here or there. But we're 6-6-1 with god awful special teams so far, and playing like our C game, right? So I know this team has another level or two, and I know they'll go on a run. I don't think they'll win 16 in a row again. But I fully expect them to right the ship and get things going in the right direction. So like I'm glass half full for sure, but obviously don't like the start.
Yeah. Dash.
Let's preface this. This is super early. Super
absolutely.
early. 13 games in. We don't even think about panicking until American Thanksgiving. And that said, we all panicked last year at American Thanksgiving. We still ended up one goal away from a Stanley Cup. I'm definitely a 6-6-1 guy. There's no doubt about that. You just can't not count 3 games. Especially when I think, honestly, the biggest problem with the team is just that we're still sleepwalking into this season. Like we're just missing that intensity. We're missing that emotion. We're missing that grit or tenacity or give a F. Which is really crazy to say because, like, if you look at PDO and you look at expected goals for, man, we've been unlucky, but yet we're 6-6-1 playing bad. Like, is that lucky or unlucky? I don't know. So it's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth. But for me personally, I'm a 6-6-1 guy. I think they look like a team that's played 12 games in the last 24 days. I think they look like a team that played 3 of the last 4. I think they look like a team that are still trying to get over the hangover from a Stanley Cup final and losing to the Stanley Cup champions 3 straight years. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get a 60-minute game going, but it hasn't happened yet. And that's maybe my biggest concern / complaint is that we keep hearing, well, that 15 minutes was epic and, that 40 minutes was great and they couldn't even get the puck on a 4-on-4 and play 60 minutes. When is this team going to play 60 minutes?
There's not, but we say that, but it's a hard game to play full 60 minutes. You got to play 2 good periods, right? You got to play, like we talk about it, like playing 60 minutes, but you got to play 40 minutes hard and play 1 period where
you need your special teams, right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's kind of one of the big areas for this team. Like, I'm definitely more of a glass half full guy because this is the team that I thought we had 6-3-1, right? Like, I didn't think we were, a top of division team going into the year. And frankly, you're a little bit like misguided if you did, right? Because just look at the defense, right? I mean, anybody who's watched the Oilers or knows hockey knows that the defense just wasn't going to be good enough. And, we talked about it. The team's maybe not quite as fast.
They're not.
But hey, like 6-3-1, like if they go 6-3-1, all the way to trade deadline. That's exactly what I want, right? Like that's what I want from this team. I want them to be a 40-minute a night team with 20 minutes, that they're at least holding on. They're getting the saves when they need to get the saves. I've actually been more impressed with Pickard so far than I have been with Skinner, but it's still early. I mean, you said it yourself. It's early in the season. To have the start they had, that's maybe the biggest disappointment for me, is the start of the season. But outside of that, I mean, I look at that Dallas game, 4-1 loss in that Dallas game. That's like a PDO nightmare for the Oilers, that game, right? Like, you can't go through like a period and a half of hockey like they're playing there and not get frustrated, right? Like that's just, look at Hyman. I mean, like, the guy, even Knobloch said they had a meeting, which, hey, there's a good sign, is that they were sitting in it with a company discussing stats, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, really? That's the Oilers doing that? And so they were doing something that they probably should be doing. And, it was kind of like that. The balloon had to break eventually. They were going to, like, Hyman was going to score. And then he scored back-to-back games, and he could have had a couple extra last night, right? Like, the Oilers they're still fighting like this PDO nightmare. Like, they're getting. This
is the way it was last season as well.
Yeah.
We were 3-9-1 to start the season on the day we made the coaching change, but like all the underlying metrics were just as favorable, if not more favorable. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. The puck wasn't going in for us. Every mistake we made was in the back of the net. We had some things to clean up in the neutral zone. Like, we were like the worst team in the league at giving up odd man rushes and like rush chances, right? And like, I think from that respect, it's a little better than it was last year, but in the defensive zone still hasn't been tight enough. Special teams has been awful. Scoring hasn't been good enough. Like, there's still lots of things to iron out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Defense isn't but this is what we expect.
We haven't lost the same way twice.
Yeah.
No, like, we keep losing for a different reason, kind of.
So what are the positives in the Oilers season so far? I mean, we've had, it's obvious, like, scoring, putting the puck actually into the back of the net is a negative, on whether it's special teams, whether it's just 5-on-5 offense, but what's a positive from this team? Is it that, like, for me, I can take, we just talked about this, is that here we are at 500 after this crappy start. And they've found a way to win games, right? Like, is that this team has found a way to win, and we've won 2 of 3 without the best player in the world skating. So to me, that's a positive. And the defense is starting to look a little bit better, I think. If you don't talk about Columbus, right? Like,
burn the tape on that one.
Defense is part of the PK.
Yeah. Well,
big part of the PK.
I mean, that's your top D guys, right? Like,
well, there's 4 of them playing it.
Yeah. I mean, wait, give me some benefits. What's some positives? What's some positives? Dash, I mean, you got like all the negatives down pat. What are some of the positives of this Oilers team?
Positives, I would say, is results based on execution. Honestly.
That's a backhanded compliment.
It isn't. No, yeah. Well,
yeah. That's not
me finish.
That's
how about you let me finish so I can circle back and go on the other side of it. All right. Okay. I'm the co-host. Okay. I just think the execution hasn't been there, but yet there's still 6-6-1, which isn't obviously terrible. And that is a little bit backhanded, but it's also a compliment, because when you're I think they're 4th worst in the NHL, or 4th worst PDO, as in 4th worst puck luck, 2nd in the NHL for expected goals for that are missed. I think they average 1 and a bit a game, and they should have like 3 a game or 3.4 a game or something. It's crazy. When all that evens out, because it always does over 82 games, look out. And right now there's 22 teams in the NHL that have a better PK than our PK and power play combined. Like, that's not a stat that's going to last for 82 games. So when the power play starts to get better, when the PK starts to, hopefully get better, when the PDO evens out, when the expected goals for start to come around, look out, because if we're 500 based on what we've put up so far, I don't know. There's just some big streaks coming. I think there's probably a few double-digit winning streaks coming this year again. It's just a streaky team. They're built like it. It's their culture.
Yeah. Lotsy?
Yeah, just basically building off of what Dash said. I mean, the fact that we're 500 playing our C game is a positive, right? Like, we want to be better than 500.
Oh, let me interrupt you, though. Let me interrupt you. Just kidding. That's what Michael did too. Good point, Lotsy. Intelligent.
I'm going to point out a couple of specific stats, though. We're third in the league in expected goals percentage at 56.27, and dead last in expected goals above expected, like -12%, or the -12. Like, those two things are going to turn around for us. Like, those two numbers indicate that the goal scoring will heat up.
And the goaltending should get better, right? Like,
and the goaltending will get better. Special teams will get better. Like, they have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. I mean, that's and to me, that's exactly the thing, right? Is they've had moments where it's clear they're a good hockey team. Like, they've had lots of moments. It's just, to your point, Dash, like, they don't, they're not playing like consistently that way throughout a game. I like the way I think about it. Like, it's hard when you're out there and you're Zach Hyman and you're almost putting the puck in the net 10 times a game, and it just doesn't feel like the hockey gods are on your side. Like, that gets frustrating, right? And frustration will seep into your game, and by the time the third period ends up, and a goal like that Mantha goal goes in, which to me looked like a high stick to me, right? And the Oilers don't, outside of that Pittsburgh goal, right? Like, the Oilers don't seem to get those breaks, right? Like, it feels like if that's an Oilers goal, that it gets, and that's loser talk, but that's kind of how you feel when you're out there, right? Like, that's how players feel. Like, that frustration, they're human, right? They're going to go through those moments, those ups and downs. And by the time the third period hits and you've had a number of those, you just kind of feel like, damn it, again. Right. And so, that leads to streakiness, because now you're going to get a couple moments where PDO is working in your favor and it's regressing back to the norm and or, moving forward. And then you're going to have like a 10-2 night, right? Where McDavid's got 6 points. Right. And, Hyman's got 4 goals. That's going to happen, and hopefully it happens soon. The challenge still remains. We don't have the horses on the back end, right? Like, we got a big Philly trade, but that's you got to. I like. There's a lot of things I love about Stauffer, but he's as big an Oilers fan as you'll ever meet. And so you check Stauffer's view of any player that's ever been traded, and they either have the best shot that he's ever seen, or
in the company line, that's for sure.
Yeah. So Stauffer's first thing was the guy can shoot the pill, right? Like, and I love
he's
Stauffer.
A professional hockey player. Yeah. They can all shoot the pill.
That's right. So. It's that's the nature of this
super
team.
Helpful as a number 8 defenseman, that the only advantage or contribution to the power play or special teams he'll ever have is filling water bottles.
Yeah,
I can shoot the puck.
Yeah. What do you guys think, though? Like, we've got 2 bigger newcomers. Anyway, we've got 3, Podkolzin, Skinner, Arvidsson. Thoughts on Arvidsson? I mean, I was critical of this guy 4 games ago, and now he's noticeable night after night. Is that a McDavid out of the lineup thing, or is that a Arvidsson's upped his game? What's your thoughts on this?
I think Arvidsson was one of the most notable players for the first 4 or 5 games. I think he was our best forward up through games 3 or 4. So I don't think it's a without McDavid thing. Ultimately, I think it's just placement. I'd like to see that Arvidsson, Skinner, Draisaitl line given another try. He's tenacious in a different way. You can most of my experience in watching him play has been in the playoffs, and I think that's where his value comes through, is in the playoffs. He's like a Janmark type guy where you always get his best at that time. So I don't know. I'm okay with Arvidsson. I don't expect a guy like that to be perfect every game. Skinner's a lot more elusive than I ever would have thought. His ability to dart in and out of places is actually really impressive. And he does it. And I know it's that unique skating or whatever it is, but just even the way he moves in and out of places. And all of a sudden I think it's maybe timing, right? He just knows exactly when to jump in front of the net and grab a rebound or pop something loose. And really, really unique player, which I don't think I expected him to be that unique. I just thought, he was a bit of a perimeter player that was lethal when he gets hot. But he contributes a lot more than I thought. Why am I brain farting on the third? Sorry.
Podkolzin.
Yeah, I mean, probably given more opportunity than I would have expected. He should have potted that thing last night. That would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. More physical than I expected. He's been okay.
Hell
A
of a
little bit
knockout.
polarizing, I get that, but I mean, if he wasn't polarizing, he'd still be in Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly what you said about him is exactly what they said about him in Vancouver, right?
But we paid a 5th round pick for him, so who cares?
Yeah. It's what's expected. Lotzie?
Yeah, I think Arvidsson, he and Draisaitl, and they're completing a lot of passes in the offensive zone, but they're not leading to high quality chances. It's mid-level or low-level quality chances. He's getting shots, they're getting looks, but they're not high-level, grade A scoring chances. So I think their chemistry is still building a little bit, and it'll definitely come. It was good to see him at least get off the schneid with a goal against Nashville. But that'll definitely come. I love Arvidsson as a player. I still think he's a really good fit beside Draisaitl. It's just a matter of time before that little bomb explodes. Skinner's been fantastic. Put him anywhere in the lineup, and he's been able to mesh well with everyone he's played with. And like you said, I agree. It'd be cool to see him get a little more time with Leon and Arvidsson. But I'd also like to see more time with McDavid and Hyman too, right? He's looked good everywhere, and he's just a smart offensive player. His edge work and his timing make him really dangerous. He's got great hands, good shot. So I've been happy with Skinner so far. And I've also been happy with Podkolzin. Should he be playing top 6? Debatable, but I like him up there better than Janmark.
Yeah.
I like Janmark on the 4th line a lot better than I like him in a top 6 role. So if you're going to put somebody up there, I think Podkolzin's the right choice. He at least has a little bit of potential offensively. Yeah, he should have buried that one last night, and I think he'll get a couple as the year goes on here. But he's doing good work on that line. Really good. He's always in the battle, always in the forecheck. Very physical. He's breaking up pucks and getting it to Leon. So he's doing good work up there.
Yep. Yeah, and you got to give him some time, right? He's not.
Yeah.
He's never played with a player like Draisaitl. I mean, who do they have in Vancouver?
Peterson's the closest thing, but
that's for our Canuck fan friends. I was hoping more.
No skill in there. Vancouver
I was hoping for some dead air there, Lotzie. I was hoping for some dead air.
Crickets.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's going to take him some time, but you take the pairs in your forward lines anyway, and so you got Draisaitl and Arvidsson. I mean, they run the line. I wasn't that impressed by Arvidsson in the first 5 games as you, Dash, but he certainly picked it up in the last 4, maybe 5. Either way, you can't complain about how he's played lately. Since the 3 assist game, he's been noticeable out there every game. And Skinner, you're 100. I mean, you both said it. Like he's just sort of everywhere, it seems, and
he was evident.
Yeah, like he is a guy that can play up and down the lineup and like make a line better, right? Which is really great to have, and so when you have that, I think it's hard to put him on that with Draisaitl and Arvidsson because you need him to pump up some of the other lines, right? Like he's got a skill set that kind of makes it like, well, we could put him on that line and he'd succeed because he would. But I think he's better off elsewhere.
He's looked good with Rico and Brownie on the third line too, right? And so, we need that third line to pop a little bit.
Although,
he's not the type of player that can drive anything, but is a perfect player to complement. You know what I mean? I think that's, he can retrieve pucks. He can make nice passes. He can get into open spaces. He can draw guys in. All those things you love, right? He's like Yamamoto, but way better.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, we had our shot at Yamamoto when he...
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of want to jump in a little bit and address what Lotzie said, too, about, like, so much of those... I don't know, what are your exact words? Non-danger, non-high danger, low danger scoring, like perimeter shots.
Yeah.
From Draisaitl and Arvidsson a lot. And in looking at it, the Edmonton Oilers, like, they seem like they're getting a lot of shots. No, they don't seem like they're getting a lot of shots. They are getting a lot of shots. Like, we're out shooting our competition pretty heavily. In going and digging a little deeper, I see that the Edmonton Oilers are absolutely number 1 in the league in low danger scoring shots. And they're also number 1 in the league in medium danger scoring chances.
Yeah, I saw that stat the other day.
So,
yeah.
2 trailer park girls, round the outside. That's a perimeter game. And, they're shooting from everywhere, and maybe that's not bad. But, I'll challenge you, Lotzie and I, just to bring everybody behind the curtain. We're, having one of our friendly arguments like we do in the world famous heavy hockey group thread. And we're talking a little bit about that subject as well as hits. So maybe we can get into that a bit too. But I lost my train of thought. Dang it. What were we talking about in the group? I'm sorry.
Low danger, high danger.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Just, how, like, I think that amount of shot total and you're kind of fluffing up stats that way in a certain percent. But I'm also like, it is very baffling to me that you could only pull off 5 hits in a game like that, where you're playing a team that's smaller than you. You should be able to intimidate. Now, Lotzie, I'll cut you off because I know you're going to say it's hard to get hits when you have the puck all game. The thing is they got quadrupled in hits, yet their Corsi wasn't 75%, right? Like there's still an imbalance there. And I think maybe the glaring thing when I dug in a little more, 18 giveaways. How do you have 18 giveaways and 5 hits? So, like...
Sorry, was this one game? Like, which game was this?
Yeah, last night.
Yes,
last night. Okay.
5 hits last night. They're quadrupled in hits by New Jersey. That's a small team. It's a team they should have been intimidating. They had 18 giveaways, and they can't muster up more than 5 hits, right? Like, I just think that it's a narrative that's out there. Some people don't think it's a thing. Some people do, and I really do. I think, like, we aren't last in the NHL in hits by accident. Right, I think this is something Knobloch has really kind of stated that he doesn't care about. It was a thing in the playoffs. I don't think we out-hit a team in the playoffs more than a couple of games, and it was really that one when Nurse got mad.
So it wasn't a thing in the playoffs? I mean, they made it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. like how much of a thing was it?
Sure, I'm saying it might not have been an effect, but it was a thing that they were always getting out-hit. So whether it's important, that's your argument. Sure, we can go down that, but I think it is important. And maybe it's not hitting essentially just by itself, but there's an element to being hard to play against. And the others don't have any of that right now. We're soft like Charmin.
Are we already in the tell me I'm wrong?
We can get in there if you want. Yeah. You know what? That's a good time to take
Lotzi, sure. I'm sure you got your thoughts on this, but you know what? I think
hits matter. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, no, I don't. I could give a shit. Hits to the head matter when they're fighting. It would seem this year, but outside of that, I mean, like, look, last night felt like we were watching Jacques Lemaire's New Jersey Devils. Like the amount of times the puck was going down the ice and the Devils were still in their own zone, like amazed me. There were 3 icings in a row, and if not for Draisaitl losing faceoffs, it just wouldn't have happened that way. Like it's just like that was as boring a Devils game as I could have watched. Like
Hughes, other than Timo Meier,
yeah. I mean, it just like
Timo Meier did 2 amazing things in that game. One was blowing a wheel behind the net and not breaking his neck. That was nuts. Like I audibly gasped. And the other was that hand to the stick for the 3rd goal. Like that was really impressive, as was the pass. But anyways.
Yeah. I mean, look, like it's like Lotzi was saying, like it just seems like, our goals aren't going in, and we certainly had high danger chances. I mean, it started out high danger with who was it out front? Was it Rico in front of the net and hits the crossbar?
Rico had one.
That stack.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
chances Hyman,
in the first
I think.
Period. The Oilers could have had a couple, 2 or 3 in the first.
Rico missed a big one with that play from behind the net, and then I think even bigger than that was Hyman's breakaway, and even bigger than that was Hyman from the slot where he went full pad stack and kicked his leg up in the air there.
Yeah, and I mean, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I mean, the Oilers didn't have the power play to go. Like it just wasn't working. You got to get Ekholm and Bouchard off of there. I think the 2 of them like to pass the puck and fake the shot way too much.
Yeah, I don't like Ekholm on the first unit.
No, I mean, I love everything about Ekholm, but like, just to me, that's I'm talking about how boring the Devils were to watch, but watching our power play last night put me to sleep. Like to me, that hits had nothing to do with last night. You watch. Look, I don't like
Not just last night. We're last in the NHL.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I don't buy into it, at least not in the regular season. And like I said, I mean, if it did matter that much, the Oilers wouldn't have made it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. That's just my view on it. Like they've got the skill to not worry about the hits, and that's why Knobloch's playing that way. And I think going long term, why would you if you don't have to? Why put yourself in that position, right? Like hockey is a physical enough game as it is without throwing your body into the boards at, however fast McDavid can go, right? Like that's how you end up injured. Maybe that was the secret to not having that many injuries last year, right? Knock on wood.
Could have had something to do with it. But like, think about when you're actually hitting people, though, right? Part of it is in the defensive zone when you're defending, right, and try to break up a cycle. Maybe we're not as strong on the defensive end this year. We don't have a Vinny Desharnais who had 130 hits last year, right? We don't have a guy like that in the back end, so we're losing a little bit of contact there. But it's not like we're getting hemmed in our own end all that often, right? All the underlying metrics say that all the shot shares are going in our favor, so I don't think that's a huge issue. The other side of the ice, it's on the forecheck, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Like I'm watching Connor Brown. I can vividly remember a play last night. Connor Brown dumps it deep. The camera pans to him just chasing it, and he's just tying the guy up. He's not trying to run him through the boards. He's trying to tie up a stick and rely on a little bit of support or to use his feet to win the battle, right? So it's an opportunity where, he could have rallied or stacked up the hit count and it would have looked good on paper and the boards would have got loud. The crowd would have cheered a little bit, but really he had just as good odds of winning that puck battle the way he did as if you would have run the guy through the boards. And I think that's just the way way that our team is built. This like up front, like you've got McDavid, Nugent Hopkins. They're going to be more tie up the stick, tie the guy up, use your feet, use your support. Hyman will be physical with guys, but he's also a guy that'll tie guys up. Like he's not running guys through the ends of the boards, right? Skinner's not running anybody through the boards. Arvidsson's he's a good forechecker, but he's not a noted hitter, right? So like that's just not the way our team is built, and I think that's okay. Part of it is you can win battles different ways, and part of it is if you have the puck and you move it quick enough, you're not getting hit, and you don't need to worry about hitting if you have the puck.
Okay. All right. I don't disagree with any of that except for the part where you said running through the boards 4 times, because that doesn't, I get that and they're not, I agree, but we don't need to run people through the boards. But man, I tell you, running into them a little bit would be okay, making a little body contact, and that's a hit. So no, I don't disagree with any of that, except for I would maybe if you change that to hits instead of running through the boards and everything.
I was exaggerating to make my point.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a podcasty thing to do.
I like
everything Michael said was ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I think I'm dumber for having to sit and listen to that. Telling me that hits don't matter, never matter, and maybe they should have a strategy to go out and not hit so they don't get hurt might be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard from a person
Somebody
who works
said
for
that?
heavy hockey. Heavy hockey.
Who said that?
That's all I'm going to say.
I love Quaddy's comment here. I think we're afraid to hit because our PK is scary bad.
Well, hey, I
Could
like
be
it.
that too. Yeah.
I like it. All right, you know what? Let's use that as a segue. The special teams and especially the PK will come around. Tell me I'm wrong.
You want to go first, Michael, or you want?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, it
short
has to
answers,
come
right?
around. Like it's just
talented
there's
to.
it's like the PDO thing. I mean, the Oilers will, especially when McDavid's back. Like, you know what? Anybody who thinks, and I'm talking to a certain somebody who's eating popcorn and watching every game. That thinks that anybody's got McDavid and Draisaitl figured out on the power play is got something loose in the head, because even McDavid and Draisaitl don't know what's going to happen. Like they're just that good. It'll turn around for them. That's 2 best players in the world right there.
Yeah,
and it's got
the best plan for those 2 is not needing a plan.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to turn around. The PK, I mean, who knows? We got a little bit of a different roster this year, but I think they need to. They just need some reps, right? And once they get the reps and they figure out how to play together, then I think that'll change. And maybe it's not going to be great this year, but they have to hold out at least until the deadline. That's all I hope for. They don't need to be the best PK in the league, but after the deadline, I sure as hell hope they are. So, were you saying it's going to turn around, or you're right? I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah. I'm sure
Lotsy.
I mean, I would tend to agree. Like, honestly, their execution on the PK is just piss poor this year. It's the same system that they ran last year. Maybe there's a
they
few
look
new
like a
faces
team
doing
that's
it.
missing the top 2 defensemen from that system, though, Lotsy, right?
I'm not even talking about what the D are doing. I'm talking about more what the forwards are doing, and that's what this PK thrives on: is the action of the forwards up high. The D need to read the play and challenge the puck carrier on the half wall. But this PK is what it is because of the way that the high forward gets up into the passing lane, and the middle forward or the low forward stays in the middle. Like the goal that Jersey scored on the power play last night, like in the playoffs, that doesn't go in because there's usually a forward standing there defending that pass into the middle of the box.
And you know why that doesn't happen? Great point, Lotsy. And you know why that doesn't happen in the playoffs? Who were the 2 forwards standing there when they let, who was that, Jesper Bratt just walk into the slot untouched?
I honestly don't have the numbers on who that was last night.
Nuge and Henrique.
Those guys are not last year.
Right. Exactly. To your point that it flows through the forwards, and look who those guys were, right? So, it proves your point. They didn't change them guys. and those are still mistakes happening. So, my point to all of that is there's a gelling, there's a chemistry.
Yeah.
A couple guys out there that are new to the team. It'll come. I agree.
And they went through a stretch like this last year too, even after the losing streak ended.
We were talking about their
They
PK
did.
at the beginning of last season. Remember?
We were 100%. We were.
Yeah. We stopped
It's
talking about the
different
PK in the playoffs when it became cyborg-like.
Yeah.
All right. This is a hot one. I don't think we'll find consensus here anywhere. The Oilers needed number 97, Connor McDavid, out of the lineup in order to figure out what their team was missing, in order to get good players going, and in order to find some accountability, and have been better as a result over the last few games. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'll go on this one. Like, I actually agree. And I know Mark Spector did a piece about it. Kurt Levins mentioned it in a piece on Sunday. I was gonna do it, but I was like, there's too many voices saying it's kind of the same thing. But I think it's a blessing in disguise that Connor's missing a little bit of time here. Like, you never Connor. You look at the wall behind me. McDavid's my favorite player. All right, like I know how valuable he is to a hockey team, but in this particular instance, I think it was just okay. We need to wake up. We need to step up because it's not going to be handed to us because we don't have Connor McDavid anymore for a couple weeks here. And honestly, I think it's good for McDavid to get a little bit of a mental break here because think about his summer. Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, and then the wedding. And then I'm sure there was a honeymoon, vacation time, and then
record amount of preseason games. Again. Yeah, and then
right?
13 or 12.
He said he was feeling better coming into this camp than he was last camp, but mentally, I would think he probably just didn't realize he probably needed a little bit of a break. And I would argue the same thing for Leon too. I mean, same playoff run. He got engaged. He had the big contract negotiation. And then you look at a guy like Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, brand new team, right? Big free agent moves for them. Even Adam Henrique, he re-signed, but he had a baby right before the trade deadline before he got here. So, and then he went on a 2-month-long playoff run. So they blink and they have 2 seconds to kind of get their life figured out, and you're on the ice again. Right. So I think there's just a lot of external stuff going on with a lot of these guys. Like we forget that they're human beings as well. Like, I mean, there's no excuses. They got to play better, and it's professional hockey and they're professional athletes. Like we expect more of them. They're all veterans, but there's a human side of this that is always impactful too, no matter whether we say it's an excuse or not. It's just facts.
Yeah, let me jump out here. Like Patrick is in from the Oilers Fanatic, a good friend of heavy hockey, and I can't disagree with him. Great job on the rundowns again recently, Patrick. I love him. They needed some kind of spark, and even if McDavid being out was that spark, they needed that spark. And Lotzi, what I want to say that was brilliant there is count your blessings. Yeah, because McDavid was only hurt, for 4 games or 5 games, so. Counter blessings, it's the slap in the face maybe we needed. I don't know. McDavid, we're better without him. Michael, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I think you're all nuts.
Of course you do.
Tell me the best player in the world needs to be off your team at any point. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I wouldn't have recommended it as a strategy, but it's just a little blessing in disguise is all.
It's nuts. The Oilers are let's not forget they're 6-3-1 in their last 10. Right? It's not like it was the end of the world when he went down. Like this was a point at which was a good time for them to keep going. Their problems aren't about McDavid. I mean, the PDO was there pre-McDavid going down, right? Like the power play was crappy with McDavid in the lineup. The PK was crappy with McDavid in the lineup. The goaltending was subpar with McDavid in the lineup. With McDavid out of the lineup, the only real player that's really stepped up has been Draisaitl. right? Like, it's not like I'm not watching the games and saying maybe Hyman scored a couple. That's pretty good, but I'm not watching the games
Exactly.
and saying the power play is that much better. The PK is that much better. Arvidsson's that much better. Skinner's
not any worse.
Better, right? No, they're not any worse. There's no spark.
Not any better.
The only guy that gets sparked is Draisaitl, and Draisaitl's a beast, right? Like, you spark Draisaitl, that's gonna give you a couple games maybe, but this is not the same as putting the dry line out there and them going on a tear. This is not the same thing. The only thing I'm looking forward to is McDavid getting back on the ice and doing what McDavid does, right? And if the Oilers can hold on, the one thing I do like though is they're 2-1 with McDavid out of the lineup, and I hate when everybody says McDavid's out of lineup and this team's done. Like, do we forget that we've got arguably one of the second, like maybe the second best player in the world playing on this team, right? Like McDavid out, we still got a guy that's pretty damn good there. So I didn't expect this team to go and like bomb, right? They've still got Nuge, they've still got Hyman, 50-goal scorer, by the way, right? They've got Arvidsson. They've got Skinner, who's 6-time 30-goal scorer. They got lots of guys. Anyway, I just think it's nuts to think that it's a good thing to have McDavid.
Yeah. Well,
I'll say one more thing to challenge that though, Michael. I did a piece a couple weeks ago, and maybe I can't even remember now. Life's been a blur lately, but McDavid was leading the team at one point in being on the ice for goals against at 5-on-5. He was getting outscored 6-3 at 5-on-5. So not only was he not producing, but there were mistakes on the defensive end as well. So
you're saying we needed to sit him?
I'm saying something needed to happen there, right? That player has been on the ice for more 5-on-5 goals against than anybody else coming out of the lineup for a couple games. We're not allowing as many goals against all of a sudden.
This just in, breaking news from Ryan Lotzberg at Heavy Hockey. The McDavid injury is fake. Knobloch has benched McDavid.
Yeah, benched McDavid.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, all right, Michael, nobody's saying that the Oilers are better without McDavid. Okay, so just stop right there. You're the one being ridiculous. What we said is that it's in the last few games that it was advantageous. And I do feel like Ryan I are right in this one, because you can look at the history of Austin Matthews, and he's hurt way more than Connor McDavid.
Oh,
the Leafs have a pretty favorable record of winning percentage when Austin Matthews is out. I think
that's because they got a good team. Like, they have a good team with Matthews.
Yeah. So when that happens and you have a good team, it allows other guys to step up. It allows other guys to do it their way. It allows other guys to make plays. And all those things gain confidence. And confidence is a massive part of the success of hockey. So McDavid's sitting out a few games so that Hyman can get his confidence back, so that we can get a few Arvidsson having a 3-point game and scoring against his ex-teammate. Great. Let's have all that. I do think that it was positive in the time being, and God strike down anybody that thinks that we'd be better off without him permanently. You play enough hockey, Michael. If you have McDavid if I'm on your left wing and McDavid's on your right wing, we're passing it to him every time we get the puck. We are. Because we should.
Are you two specifically? Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe Michael makes his own play without McDavid and gains a little confidence, right? And then everybody feels like they're part of the game. Everybody feels like they're contributing. Everybody feels like they're part of the team. And teams win Stanley Cups. So let's segue off of that. I'm going to go off the Oilers just a smidge, except it's still related. We touched on this earlier. Broberg out 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury. Really innocent play by the looks of it. And I would also argue or debate that the Holloway injury was quite innocent, to be honest. I'm sure Paul has taken that shot a million times. I'm sure it hasn't hit him in the collarbone very many times if you're Holloway, and this time it did. Here, I'm going to go a little tinfoil hat on us. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Signing an offer sheet is a curse. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, my turn to start, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay, go.
Yeah.
Go, ridiculous guy.
Yeah, you're wrong. I mean, it's curses are silly. But
Decade
look,
of darkness.
there's we can probably find like 20 different times where I said Broberg will never play a full season, and there he goes. Big surprise, right? Like I said, I don't see guys. I don't want them to get injured, but Broberg's never played more than 50 games in a season. Like in his career since he's been alive, he's never played more than 50 games. Yeah. And so why should we think that this year was going to be any different, especially when he's being counted on for the amount of minutes that he's being counted on in St. Louis? There's no doubt, and I said this before, that he's a good player. He's got, but it's like, who is the guy we were talking about getting on defense from Arizona a couple of years ago? Chikrin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same sort of thing, right? Like, that's the challenge, is just they never play a full season. And so, while they're in the lineup, like Broberg's close to a point a game player this year, which is pretty awesome on D. And he's been good addition for the St. Louis Blues and expected. Right. Like I think a lot of Oilers fans knew that he was going to be a good player, maybe not at the value that he got from St. Louis, but we knew that. And then Holloway, oh man, I mean, that's just a tough one, right? That's just pure bad luck. But Broberg doesn't surprise me. Holloway, just bad luck. Got a feel for the guy, but no curses. I think you're wrong. Lotsy.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say, no, you're wrong. Put your tinfoil hat away. Get back on the spaceship. Fly away. I mean, we have to look back at other offer sheets that got signed and see if there's a trend beyond those specific two. And maybe that's a little bit of karma biting Doug Armstrong in the butt here. Not that it's unethical or wrong, but it was a move that he took advantage of us. He saw us in a vulnerable position, and he pounced. So maybe that is a little bit of karma. I don't know.
Didn't Penne?
For both guys, it sucks. But yeah, no curse.
Penne played a full season for the Oilers. Penner.
Did you accidentally or on purpose call Penner Penne?
No, I called him Penne. That's what they used to call him. Pasta
pancakes.
Yeah. Penne noodle.
Yeah, I mean, let's be realistic here. I don't agree with myself. I am wrong. Curses are silly. I don't know that really exists. Maybe there's hockey gods out there, but I don't think they're gonna punish Armstrong for making a smart move against one of his greatest competitions in the same conference. So I don't think there was a curse, but I do think that injury-prone players get injured, and it doesn't always happen on purpose, but it happens, and everybody's unlucky with injuries, and this was just those guys' turn. That's all I got for our segment. I don't know if you guys want to talk about tomorrow at all. I got tickets for the game. Lots of you going to be there?
I am not going to be there. I have my own hockey game to I get to pretend like I'm good at hockey or something for a night. And
training for the showdown, attaboy.
Yeah, gotta get
this
that.
Is a big one
in.
Tomorrow, right? I mean, the Oilers stay above 500.
We can get within 2 points if we can win it clean.
Yeah, we're not in must-win territory yet.
No.
But
every divisional game was important, especially against the teams that we know we're going to be fighting against for the top 3 spots.
Well, it's not making the playoffs; it's trying to get home ice.
Yeah, and Vegas is on a tear this year.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they've started well.
Yeah, they've started really well.
Deep team.
Yeah, and they've been good. I mean, they were good. They've been good every year, right? Like, let's be honest.
I mean, they're hard to play against. And that's going back to my whole point on hitting. You can't win with skill in today's NHL, to quote my best friend Tough Call. You need to be difficult to play against, and that means it means hitting, it means being irritating, it means showing tenacity and passion and push back.
So how much does this game mean for the future Team Canada goaltending?
It's a little early to get
Why
into
is
that.
Montembeau playing? Sorry, Lotzie.
I mean, it is. It isn't too early. I mean, they're going to watch. We got two of the front runners. I assume Aiden Hill will be playing in net tomorrow, and Skinner should be back in net. You'd think.
Yeah, I'm sure Skinner playing in the Four Nations Cup. Am I crazy for saying that?
I don't think you're crazy, but yeah. Wow,
I think it's between him and Binnington. I think those are your two goaltenders right there.
Yeah,
Montembeau, Aiden Hill. I mean, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, they're cute, but they're not Skinner and Binnington. Sorry, they're not.
They're cute. You flirt with them at the bar, you just don't take them home. All right.
Yeah.
So you don't think Aiden Hill's got a shot?
No, he's not the same goaltender he was in 23. He rode a hot streak to a Stanley Cup and got himself a nice little payday out of it. But I don't think he's that level of goaltender.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I think he's got a shot. I think he's got a shot in the way that the Knights have come out. I think he's got a better shot now than he did maybe at the beginning of the season. Things will change, right? I mean, I do think, though, they have a pretty good idea of who they want, right?
Thankfully, Team Canada.
Doug Armstrong is going to take Binnington, you think, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I haven't thought about that till now.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Binnington plays well. You know what? Him and Skinner are kind of from the same mold, really. Like when the team in front of them plays well and they're sound, they're good goalies to have. They don't necessarily steal games. Now, Binner probably stole some games in that playoffs, but ultimately St. Louis won that cup because they beat up and bullied the shit out of the other team, really. Teams.
Yeah.
That was one of the most aggressive Stanley Cup wins I've ever witnessed. Like they were relentless.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, tomorrow's a big game. So you got Vegas coming in. They're 8-3-1, I think, for the season. Good divisional matchup. Good to see the Oilers beat the Flames. Good to see them win after letting go of the lead like that. I thought that was a better showing as far as the Oilers were concerned. Then they looked, I mean, to talk about, so, we talked about hitting at this, earlier on. That first game against Calgary, that's one where they could have been more physical. And they let the physical side of the game dictate the game itself. Right. And so, I think when you allow that, like back on the hitting track, like I think those games, that's when it's noticeable. Right. If and we talked about this in the group chat, which is when you allow like a team to dominate you and you just don't use your speed and the assets that you have, then hitting matters. Right. And that first game against Calgary, it was noticeable. The grit was there. I felt like that was the game where I thought, it's going to be a long season, right? Thankfully, they changed that. And also, I hate the fact that the Oilers have already played the Flames twice at the beginning of November.
Yeah, we don't get them again until the end of March, I think.
Yeah. Like ridiculous. Like the NHL can't get this whole thing straight. It shouldn't be that hard. Just looking at the hits in that first game against Calgary, it was 28-15 for Calgary. So they doubled up on hits. In the second game against Calgary, hits were 19-13 for the Oilers. So there you go, Dash. I mean, maybe 2 games prove your point. Hits mattered. I mean, grit definitely mattered in those. I mean, that first Oilers Flames game, Lomberg was more noticeable than he was in the last game, right? And that's the kind of player that he is, right?
Yeah.
Which I can't get past the name Lomberg without thinking of Office Space. Anybody?
I know. So true.
That guy's the closest I'll ever get to the NHL. It's Ryan Lomberg. It's a letter difference. It's Lotsberg, Lomberg.
Yeah,
there you go.
A letter or two off.
Hey, let's talk about Noah Philp. So I haven't read the article yet, but Staples has an article out about whether they made the right choice on sending Caggiula down or Philp down, I assume was the option.
No, that wasn't what the article was about at all, actually. It was he was calling for Derek Ryan, or more specifically Corey Perry, to get sent down.
Corey Perry.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I totally disagree. I honestly thought it was going to be Philp that was heading back down, but good on the kid. He had a great camp, and he has played well in his first few games as an Oiler. Like, he hasn't looked out of place at all. And like, he got an assist in the first game, and
a nice assist.
He hasn't looked out of place at all. He's been good. And even last game when they had him and Derek Ryan on the fourth line, I was like, okay, Philp has made an impression on the coaching staff here, right? Because I thought those two would be pretty interchangeable fourth line right-handed centers, but it was Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, and Noah Philp centering those two. So one of Ryan or Perry was on the off wing, right? So I wasn't expecting that.
What was the argument for sending Perry down?
You're saying that Caggiula has contributed more. Like, he's saying Perry is slow and doesn't contribute much aside from a couple of well-timed fights. Like, the journal tracks the contributions to grade A scoring opportunities, and Caggiula's apparently done quite well in the first 2 games that he's played. But like, we all know that Caggiula is a tweener, right? Like, Caggiula is up and down. Like, he earned his recall. Like, he had a great camp and he's played well in the AHL so far this year, but he's not a full-timer on this roster. And I think Philp outplayed him in those couple of audition games here. So yeah, Perry is so good in the locker room. Like, just his presence is huge. And I think DR is, like, he's super smart, also a good presence in the locker room, good on the PK. He does lots of things for you. So I don't see Ryan going down either. So I didn't agree with Staples at all.
Well, I think it's like also a little bit of recency bias. I don't think Perry's had a great last 3 or 4 or 5 games anyways. I know he had that goal against Nashville, but he's not getting, like, he's got 1 shot on net in the last 3 games. He's a -3. He's averaging maybe 10 minutes. He got 7 minutes against Calgary. Anybody that's getting 7 minutes of ice time won't be missed that badly.
Yeah, but I think, look, like, when I think about Perry, like, he's starting to get back to the game that I wanted to see from him, right? Like, the times when he's out on the ice, like, just watch him. He's talking to the goaltenders. He's doing the crap that you expect Corey Perry to do. He's starting to do it more and more. You can't do it every game of the season because you just can't. You can't take all of that away from him. But I've been happy with Corey Perry. You know, from like, he just goes out there and does Corey Perry things. I mean, he's practically 40 years old, right? Like, he's the reason why our average age is so high.
Dash, been Corey Perry's biggest fan for the better part of a decade now.
Well, I wasn't last year, right? Like, last year, I thought, I was disappointed the Oilers signed him.
So for 5 years, you were like, hey, we need a Corey Perry type player. We really need somebody like Corey Perry. And then we got him, and then you were disappointed?
Yeah, absolutely. I was disappointed.
So you were wrong.
I've got a theory. No, I wasn't wrong at all.
Used to tell Michael he was wrong.
Yeah. I wasn't wrong at all. I was right. In fact, the point was something happened last year. We still don't know what it was. But like that, he's got to recover from that. I know, as a recovered alcoholic, like, I know that first year of recovery, like, you're not the same person, and like, to be an asshole, you kind of need the stuff that drives you is exactly what caused the problems in his life. Demons. And so now he's got to learn how to be like that without that same, whatever it was. Like, is it substance abuse? Who knows, right? Like, whatever was bugging him, he's got to change. He had to change and relearn how to be Corey Perry without that part of his life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's tough.
Great point. Yeah, no, for sure.
You wanted Patrick to point out Patrick talking about Drake going down to Bakersfield because he needed some help. A point that shouldn't be taken lightly. I mean, not every roster move is necessarily about, who's the right guy to keep in the lineup or not. I mean, you win a little, you lose a little by keeping Philp over Kajula, but Kajula certainly is probably a little bit more valuable in Bakersfield for a whole number of reasons, right?
Yeah.
I like Kajula. I mean, I still got a soft spot for him. He is, right? Yeah. But he managed to stick in the NHL for a lot longer than I think anybody thought he would, right?
Mm-hmm. It was a surprise he made it, and it was definitely a surprise that he played as many games he has played as many as he has played.
Got a little bit of Gagne in his game, like he's tenacious for his size, he's physical, he's got just enough speed, he's got a good hockey IQ. He seems to get on the score sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I think, it's we talk about these guys like on the fourth line. Everything that we forget about is that it's not easy to play 10 minutes of a night and be effective, right? Like people think of it as like you're fresh and you can go out there, but you're not engaged, Like try sitting on the bench and then when you get called on to spend 30 or 45 seconds on the ice. Like we saw it as Philp's second, first shift, but he had been out there before he got onto his second shift for that point, but he was out there for 2 seconds or whatever and then back off the ice. Like so hard to be good. And that's why, guys that are good in that third and fourth line role that can play those limited minutes and still be effective, are so important. And Perry's one of those guys right now, right? Why would you? Derek Ryan is one of those guys. Like Derek Ryan's been that guy. And from a face-off perspective, there's not many better than him, right? Like he gives you, to me, Derek Ryan gives you the same game night after night, right? Like you just, what you're going to get. And it's not, it's not awful. He's not out there scoring, 20, 30 goals a season, but
but he's not hurting your team.
Exactly. Yeah. And, what's his average ice time just looking right now is 9 minutes and 20 seconds a game with a 60% face-off rating. I don't know how many face-offs that is, but that's not bad for a guy.
He's not taking the ozone draws. He's taking the defensive zone draws. They're important face-offs.
So I like that. And look for Perry. I mean, he's had, he took a fight when he had to this year, right? I know when I turned close to 40, I was not taking any fights at any point in time.
Not even 40, and there's no way I'm taking any fights.
Yeah. So that's awesome. You'll fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to be a fun showdown this year.
I did fight in the showdown.
I know. Pickard and Skinner. Who's been a better goalie so far for you guys?
Whatever.
I was going to say Pickard until last night.
I don't know. Pickard didn't play terrible.
No, he wasn't.
I didn't like that power play goal. They went right through him. He was sliding. He was way out of position. I didn't like that goal in particular. He
Why
didn't
does
look
Brad
great
have
on
that
the
much
third
time
goal
in
to
the
break
slot?
away.
Middle of the ice, bro. Could not be in more middle of the ice. Right in the slot. Right in between two defensemen and both forwards standing there looking.
Absolutely a grade A shot, but Pickard didn't play that well either. It was along the ice. It wasn't exactly a ripper.
That's fair.
They've been equal in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's 6-1.
We haven't had. They haven't been stellar, but there was one or two games where if I look at between the two of them, where Pickard has made a couple of key saves to keep the Oilers into it, where Skinner hasn't done that yet. Do I believe that that's going to be the case the whole season? No, I do. I said it though in our season preview, which was halfway through the season last week. But I said last week, I expect Pickard to start more games than I would have assumed he'd start this year.
He's got to start that many, man.
Yeah, this is the reason.
Skinner played 90 games last year, and then he's going to play the Four Nations Cup this year too. Like, Pickard's got to play 30, 40 games. He has to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, when you add in
I'm thinking he'll get to 25, not 30 or 40.
Well, and I said it in our previous show if you watched Lotsy, but I just smell an injury coming on that back end. I don't know who, and I'm not going to jinx anybody, but I think we'll see some AHL goaltending called up, and maybe even, my stretch prediction was double digits, so 10 games or more from one of those AHL guys. Hey, I pulled face-off stats just because I was kind of curious about a couple things. Nico Hischier has taken 100 more face-offs than anybody else in the NHL. Wow. 376 face-offs, and next is Crosby with 291. And he's at 54%. He leads the league in face-offs taken and face-offs won. He's won 203 face-offs. And the next closest is Crosby with 173.
What's Hischier's percentage? I mean, yeah, you're going to win more
54.
draws than anybody else if you're taking more draws than anybody else, right?
54.
54? That's pretty good still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Crosby's 60. Draisaitl's 57. Dylan Larkin's 56. Matthews 56. Kopitar 53. So he's up there.
Okay, so Hischier still is elite percentage and incredible volume. So good on him.
Yeah, kind of right. 100 more faceoffs. That's crazy.
Goes
to show you how much they trust Jack Hughes to take a draw.
Yeah. Well, and Hischier's ripping it up this year too. Like I don't know how many goals he's got right now, but they were showing in the broadcast it was like 10 goals or something already in the 15 or 14 games. I was like, holy, it's ridiculous.
They played 15, I think they've played, and I got him right here. 10 goals, 6 assists. Yeah, he's ripping it up for sure. 46 shots. That's 9th in the league.
Yeah, underrated player.
Yep.
Right, he's right up there, tied for first in goals scored right now with a number of guys. Draisaitl, although, is not far behind now with 9.
0
Give him
pins.
time.
He's your Lady Bing winner.
Yeah. What'd you have him? Did you have him for Lady Bing?
No.
You did have Draisaitl for getting 50, and I think you might be right.
I usually am.
Once in a while, like 25%, I think is what I worked it out to be.
You got worse math than Rashog, man. Come on. Patrick, I heard Stoff talking the other day, like he was getting calls on Matt Benning. Just feel like he's another third pairing guy, though. Don't we have a logjam of those? Oh, hell yeah, we do. And that's Oilers and Oilerin. I mean, let's go all the way back to Mark Fain and whoever the hell else you want to talk about.
Look, the other thing the Oilers, everybody's dying for the Oilers to put a defenseman back there, right? And I'll go back to 6-3-1 over the last 10. Like we need 6-3-1 until the deadline, right? If we take every 10 games 6-3-1, I'll be super happy. And then let's get the defenseman that we want rather than Matt Benning. Right?
Yeah, Benning doesn't do anything to move the needle, and you need more. This is why trades don't happen until the trade deadline. It's because you need time to let cap space accumulate, and then the prorated value of the player you're acquiring goes down. Right? It's like you just need time for that math to all play out. So yeah, keep it chill for right now. Like
sometimes getting these guys that have experience in Edmonton too is not a positive thing. Right, like they left for a reason sometimes, right? Like,
I mean, I liked Benning when he was here, and it was a surprise that he made the team as a third pairing guy and stuck. But that's what he is at most, the third pairing guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a slight at him. That's just what he is.
If you can get it without changing what your cap situation is, like 1 in, 1 out, then go for it. Right, like then you still have options at the deadline. It's just that I don't want to see moves that that change what our situation is going to be at the deadline, because every dollar is going to count at that point. Like it
So-
could come down to like $20, right? Like
Yeah,
that's how
if you're
close it
doing
is.
that though, you're getting rid of Stetcher or Emerson or Dermott, right? So I mean, let's say you get rid of Dermott, he hasn't played much, hasn't played all that well, but do you need a third righty that can play on your third pairing? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is
Let's
he
go
better
get
than
Brandon
right
Manning.
now? Bring in Brandon Manning.
He can shoot the
Getting an
pill.
upgrade on Stetcher? I don't think
Yeah.
Yeah, he can shoot the pill.
Yeah, he can cheat McDavid too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Benning too. I didn't mind him in fact, he went from in my like down in the dumps of what I considered, beneficial to the team to being a guy that I hated to see leave the Oilers. So certainly, I like stories like that, like where they change kind of how I view them. But we need something big, and if the Oilers can kind of carry on this pace, and if we can all agree that at some point pucks are going to start to go in the net, then let's keep the team as it is. And I'd like to see Emberson get some reps, like just consistent reps, and see what kind of player he is.
I think he's starting to settle in. I liked what I've seen out of Emerson the last 2 weeks or so. Like he's looked good beside Kulak. Eventually, I like to see him get another shot with Nurse. Like he's only got 15 minutes at 5-on-5 with Nurse this season, and a lot of that was in Game 1 against Winnipeg. Emberson had a bad game, right? The jitters were out. He was not thinking straight, not handling it well. But now that he's more settled in, I'd like to see that good pair get another go. But for now, though, I like Emberson Kulak. It's not bad.
Ethan Bear out there, maybe Caleb Jones, Willie Lagesson. Let's bring them all back. Sorry, I'm still on that joke.
We missed out on Yamamoto. I mean, we missed out on Yamamoto the day McDavid got injured, right? Like I was like, I had dry line in my head, like it was coming back.
I'd take Kessel.
We're going to the final.
Mark Fistrick. Eric Greiba.
Ah, man, he's still probably fishing or hunting in Saskatchewan somewhere, I'm sure. But
maybe.
Creeps. He was. I actually enjoyed him. Big guy on the back end. I liked that.
That was one of the most pointless buyouts I've ever seen. Like the last year of his contract, the league minimum contract, buy it out. Like I didn't understand that one.
What do you guys think about this here? Quaddy says needs some shot blocking. He's saying bring back the Cowboy. I mean, like what's your thoughts on this? I mean, shot blocking is one of those.
I think we're one of the top.
I think shot blocking is a result of good defensive positioning, which we have struggled with. I think it's gotten better in the last week or so. But like you look at when Knobloch first came in last year and implemented his version of zone and how well that worked for the Oilers versus what we've seen in the first month of the season, two different things. Like the Oilers have been playing a lot of man or like a sloppy zone, like it's been ugly. But in the last week or so, like I've noticed they've starting to tighten it up a little bit. So I think those shot blocks will start coming once their D zone positioning gets a little better and they're playing the system a little bit more effectively.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about, and Dash, I don't know if you saw it, but Jonathan Willis put out a tweet. A thread of tweets. What was it, a couple weeks ago or a week ago? Yeah, it was a week ago. And it was about Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, I posted that in our thread. I definitely did.
Yeah. And so, talks about season by season, seemingly pretty upset with, how Nurse has been utilized and how it's, just bad management all around. Thoughts on Nurse? I mean, Nurse, right? Like he's everybody's favorite whipping boy, it would seem when it comes to defense. I thought he's had a couple of good games back to back. Like I feel like he's been solid just watching him play. I don't know what the underlying numbers look like, but he hasn't been there was in the early stretch there, he seemed to be on the ice every time the goal went in the net. I don't know if it was always his fault, but some of it's pairing too, right? Like it's easy enough to have good defensive numbers if you're playing with Ekholm every night, right? Like,
Nurse has been on the ice for more goals than anybody, but Ekholm is in second place right now.
yeah. So, I mean, thoughts on Nurse? Like, what do you think he's been playing better lately, guys, or is this a guy like we're obviously like we're taking this guy again to hopefully to the playoffs, and then if the odds makers are right, we're taking him to the Stanley Cup final. Right? Is this a case of a guy that needs a better pairing, or is it sort of a hopeless thing and we're just stuck with him?
I mean, I can't remember. I think it was Sunil over at Oilers Nation. He released something where Nurses dragged down every single partner he's played with, and Ekholm and Kulak have been better fits with everybody than Nurse has been. But like I said, Nurse has 15 minutes with Emberson this season, and Emberson was having a struggle. So I can't read much into that 15 minutes, even though it was god awful from them. I'd have to look closer at Kulak and Stetcher versus Nurse and Stetcher, right? Because the argument is if Kulak is better with Stetcher than Nurse is, then Nurse is a third pairing defenseman. That's kind of the idea. So I'd need to look into that a little more to see if there's merit there. But I still don't think we've seen Darnell Nurse with a really good, solid partner for a long time. CC had a good year with him, but that pairing was mid at best, and then it sucked in the playoffs. I still think that the best solution is Nurse Bouchard. I still think Bouchard has all the traits of a partner that Darnell Nurse needs, and I think Matthias Ekholm would be a better person to take on a weaker partner on the second pairing than Darnell Nurse is. Just my eye test, I'm looking at Nurse, and he looks more confident with the puck. Like he's jumping up in the play a little bit more. He's making plays, maybe putting a little too much mustard on a few passes that aren't connecting, and they end up defending a little longer than they need to. Right? Like the big complaints with Nurse is either he's icing the puck or just not completing his passes, and then it's icings or it's more time in the D zone. And then defensive positioning, he gets lost, gets caught up ice because he's floating or roaming, right? Like I haven't seen that recklessness or carelessness in his game this year, but I mean, the passing is going to take a little bit of time, as it is for most guys. I honestly don't understand why the underlying numbers are so bad on Nurse with everyone he plays with. Like I don't get it. When I'm watching him, he skates beautifully. He can transport the puck out of trouble. He covers a lot of space in the D zone. He's quite often covering up for other people's mistakes. It's like I just don't understand why they're so bad, but the numbers are what they are. So I don't know. I want to see Nurse Bouchard. I want to see how that goes. I think that's the next big experiment. I've noticed that they've gone Nurse Kulak in game quite a bit more often lately.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah. I think that's a good internal solution as well. That's a good Band-Aid solution for having the weaker bottom three. But yeah, I still think we need to see Nurse Bouchard for a little while.
Jackie B says we need Nurse up on the wing. I'd love to see it
I'm here for the chaos. Like I'd watch that.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Dash?
No Nurse on the wing. No Nurse ever on the wing. It's fun to think about. Sure, try it like they did Struddy for 2 minutes if you want. It's not happening. Nurse has been underwhelming. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say? Is Bouchard best for him, Lotzi? Best out of what we have? Maybe. I don't know. Do we still have Duncan Keith? I don't know. That was supposed to be a joke, and neither one of you guys laughed. I mean, you did a lot for Bouchard's game when he was there. Can you do the same for Nurse? Like, Nurse just needs to keep his game simple. I mean, we've all said it till we're blue in the face. Put Nurse in positions where he can keep his game simple.
I disagree with that because the reason that he got his $9.5 million contract was because he's producing even strength points, like a top 5 rate that one season, and he's consistently in the top 20 for doing that. Right? You don't do that by keeping your game simple. Like when I hear keep your game simple, it means stay in your position, don't move, stay on the defensive side of the puck at all times.
Yeah, do that.
But
We don't
like
need his offense.
Nurse can score goals. He can make plays.
Yeah.
Right? He's got good offensive instincts. It's just it doesn't go well when if one thing goes wrong and he's caught up ice, then it's a 2-on-1 the other way. And there's been lots of instances where that's happened and it's gone in the net. And you see a lot of replays where it's isoed on Nurse and he's on his stomach or he's kind of
he's doing
losing his balance a little bit. But I all that stuff, it's like that. I see someone who's covering for someone else's mistakes a lot of times.
Look, I'm a big Nurse fan, and I've defended him for a long time. But being a little bit more realistic with what you said there, he got those points in the Canadian division, where the Oilers, had a considerably different year that year. He's contributed
I'm not saying the top 5 year was what we should expect every year, but he's consistently top 20 in the league.
Yeah, he got 7th in Norris voting that year. And I mean, it's also, I think, partially and maybe more in part to the fact that he plays against every other team's top line. And when you look at the Western Conference, like that's the McKinnons and the Makars and whoever else you want to talk about in this division. So it's also the fact that he's been a part of one of the best penalty kills in the NHL and the top defenseman choice for one of the best penalty kills in the NHL. And he's never going to get credit for that. So that is the flip side to it, Lots. You stay home, be that number 1 penalty kill guy, be that, Bouchard can go and get all the points we need from the back end and whoever else wants to contribute here and there, but it shouldn't be his operatus. What's that word? Operandi.
Modus operandi.
Thank you.
Modus operandi.
It shouldn't be. It's good if he needs to in overtime. It's good if he needs to 3-on-3 in the overtime or whatever, but outside that, I really wish he'd be more of like a Darian Hatcher.
I wish he'd be mean more often. Like he's a guy I want to see be more physical, 100%.
Ask Michael. It doesn't matter. Physical. I think never hit anybody again. We don't want him hurt. Ask Michael.
Yeah, that's what I said. We'll go back to it. That's what I said.
No, we won't.
Hate it. Let's still getting out of the game.
Still.
Yeah.
There's some people saying that Nurse might still be nursing that injury from the playoffs, a core injury, right? But this has been a thing for a number of years now. This his underlying numbers and the goals against, no matter who he's playing with, like it's been a thing for a couple of years now. So like I don't know what his injury situation is, and I don't know how it's affecting him, if it's affecting him at all. But it isn't just now. It's been a few years, so it's worth a discussion for sure. But like I've been defending Nurse for a long time. I think he gets a lot of heat on this, not unnecessarily, but like unfairly. He gets an unfair amount of heat. I'll say that.
Yeah,
he's the one guy though that never gets like if everybody wants to blame CC for everything, he played with Nurse, right? Nurse has played with everybody in the lineup except the year that he did well, go figure, he was playing while McDavid was on the ice, right? Like, that's where
who else he was playing with,
right? Yeah.
Who else he was playing with? Tyson Barrie.
Yeah, Barrie. Yeah.
A mobile puck moving defenseman.
Yeah. So, look, Nurse has got some skills that not a lot of defensemen have in this league. Like, he is a hell of a skater. Like, he can go up the ice and then be back and play defense all in like 2 seconds, right? Like, I'm always amazed at the one thing that you can always count on though is he'll go down the left side and shoot it up into the breadbasket of the goalie. But look, like he's carrying the puck, and I just think like if he can get some coaching on it, but maybe it's too late, right? Maybe it's too far down his career to be coached out of the things that he doesn't do well. I don't know that, but whatever the case, he's got the skills to be a top defenseman in the league. There's no doubt. He's got the the size to be a bruiser, right? To use it to his advantage. I would love for him to spend some time with Larson and like learn how to be that kind of tough guy to play against, right? Like he was bigger than Larson, but Larson's the guy that everybody said was you didn't want to be in the corner with, right?
Yep.
I would love to hear that about Nurse for a season, right? Like I think that's the case. But to the whole starfish thing, think about why he's starfishing because he's the only guy back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like, that's a broken play that happened well before the puck got to him.
Like at that point, as anybody who's ever played defense knows that you don't have the advantage on a 2-on-1. The forwards do if they play it properly, and your best bet is do something to break up the play and
make them make a harder pass, right? You got to make them flip it over top of you.
Exactly.
That's a difficult pass.
Yeah. So look, I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap, but then again, it's the hardest part about that argument is just when you look at the numbers over and over and over again.
They are what they are.
They are what they are.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this theory, though? This is something that Tommy Guzzola was talking about on Edmonton Sports Talk a while back, but the mental side with Darnell Nurse. Now, the contract year was a very sharp turning point in his performance, right? And the other thing that has happened since he signed the contract was Matthias Ekholm coming in. Nurse was thinking all of a sudden, I'm the $9.25 million guy. I'm the number one deal on the team. Now suddenly he's on the second pairing behind Matty Ekholm and Evan Bouchard, and he's third fiddle now. And I don't know if he's taken to that mentally. And like Tommy's around the team, he had some other observations about it. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but he may have been onto something with the mental side that we just don't see. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I'll put words in his mouth because I heard his words. He also said that Darnell Nurse's attitude completely changed, with the media. He was incredibly positive. He was always really approachable.
Yeah.
He was always one of the guys that would, sit down and talk to you and shoot the shit and give you a straight answer. And since that contract extension and since that time, he's completely cold. Just couldn't give two shits about talking to the media.
Yeah, I mean, why would you though? Like he's not deaf. He knows fans are out to get him, right?
Well, he famously said that he's blamed for everything in Edmonton, including the traffic on Stony Plain Road. Yeah, and that to me, like I'm gonna revert inward and not talk to anybody anyway. Like he can't, he can't do anything right. In my mind, he's had a great couple of games back to back. But will anybody give him credit for it? No, because it's Darnell Nurse, right? Like, that's when he does play a good game, it's like overlooked. But when he plays a bad game, you can guarantee the call-in shows, why is Nurse even out there, right? Like, what are we paying this guy for? All of those things, it's exaggerated. And anyway, enough. We've probably defended him to the end of the earth on this show, and he half deserves it and then the other times he doesn't, right? But when he's played a couple of good games like he has, I hope to see it continue. And we need him this year, right? Like he's one of only a few good players. We are off the air on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's been 90 minutes. Thank you to everybody who's showed up tonight. Consistently over about, we're sitting at about 1,400 viewers right now across all the platforms, which is pretty good, I'd say. Not too bad. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on YouTube and participated in the chat. Thank you to all the Twitter followers, Facebook, Twitch, all of those. Thanks to our guest, Mr. Ryan Lotsberg, senior writer for heavyhockey.com. Check out heavyhockey.com. Just tell you, put it in your calendars right now. March 15th is the Heavy Hockey Showdown in support of the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. That is going to happen quicker than you think. And so, make sure you book it off. And when the registration comes out, you'll hear about it here. We're going to be back again next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Mountain.
as we are always on the Heavy Hockey Network, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and then you can listen live on iHeartRadio or tune in. Thanks to the guys over at Edmonton Sports Talk, because we're a friend of Edmonton Sports Talk, and Dustin Nielsen, Tom Gazzola, Owanek, Lieutenant Eric, all those guys. Great group. They've got a full setup over there. Listen on iHeartRadio. Make sure you subscribe. That's it from me. Dash, I'll let you have some last words, and we'll let our guest close it out for the night, I guess.
Yeah, I'm good. It's honestly, I think we've all covered it and talked about it. At the end of the day, 6-6-1 with our C effort. Can't wait to see how entertaining this team can be, really. And I don't think we've seen it yet. So looking forward to that. Lotsy?
I was basically echoing the same sentiments. I was really excited about this team at the start of the year for what it could be, and I'm still excited about this team for what it could be. We just haven't seen it yet. I'm the eternal optimist when it comes to this team. Like I know they're going to turn it around. All the evidence points to them turning it around. I don't see a 16-game win streak happening, but it's going to turn around. So I ain't too worried about it.
13? 12?
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Whether you watched on YouTube or listened on Edmonton Sports Talk, then we appreciate your viewership and your tuning in. But with that being said, have a good night, and we'll see you all next week.
Oilerslive.